Okay, so I've noticed a lack of content for Pokemon for beginners specifically, like how to get your foot into the door of the competitive scene of Pokemon and how to get good at it. So this is what this little series is going to be about. And the first thing that you need to learn to play the game is actually what is a Pokemon card. Pokemon cards can be separated into six categories: Pokemon, supporter, tools, items, stadiums, or energy cards. And they all do separate things. And for this series, I'm going to use one of the decks that the game actually gives you for free. So the game, starting off, you get, I think it's like 5 or 6 decks for free that actually can hold up competitively. So you could just hop right into competitive play if you really wanted to. I wouldn't suggest that. I would suggest playing casual for quite a little bit and then start climbing the ranked ladder. But the deck I will be using that they give you for free is the End Zoroark deck, because one, this actually does see quite a lot of competitive play, and two, I just genuinely like the deck. This is actually one of the decks that I play. Not this specific one, but a variant of this deck is the one that I actually play quite a lot. So I will. This whole series will be based, not based off of, but use those cards and that deck so that you can follow along pretty much anything that I'm doing or explaining and be able to look at the deck. And like I said, completely free. Okay, so the first type of card we're going to be looking at is the Pokemon itself. So the Pokemon card. Now, a Pokemon can be a few things, but by definition, it is your thing that you use to attack other Pokemon. It'll be the one that does damage, and it's basically like the main point of the game is to work with your Pokemon to attack the other person's Pokemon. Not like in Magic, how you have life points. Same with Yu-Gi-Oh, how you have life points. The way to actually win the game is you either take your prize cards or the enemy doesn't have any more Pokemon left on their bench. So, the types of Pokemon. You have your normal Pokemon, also known as your basic Pokemon, or sometimes referred to as baby Pokemon. You'll see that sometimes in some YouTube videos. So when somebody says there's a baby Pokemon, it just means a basic Pokemon. And then you will have your stage 1 Pokemon, and then you'll have a stage 2 Pokemon, which are evolutions of a Pokemon. Which that'll be the next video, is explaining how to evolve and all of this stuff. And then you have Terra Pokemon, which are these crystallized looking Pokemon. And there's a few of them that are in play in the competitive scene. One of them is Teal Mask Ogerpon. You'll see just how like crystallized it looks. The special thing about these Pokemon cards are if they are on your bench, you can't do damage to them. That's kind of like their little special ability. And okay, so then you also have EX Pokemon. These don't really have any special requirements other than just being able to play it normally. But these Pokemon are usually stronger, they hit harder, and usually have more health. Same with Mega Evolution Pokemon. Kind of the same idea. A lot of the time, the Mega Evolution Pokemon are actually also EX Pokemon. So the same rules apply, where they're usually stronger, more health, and hit harder. Okay, so to actually figure out what kind of card a Pokemon is, like if it's a basic, it'll say in the top left, basic. If it's a stage 1 in the top left, it'll stay stage 1. Stage 2 also will be in the same spot. To figure out if a Pokemon is an EX Pokemon, in the name on the top, it'll say EX. If you want to figure out if a Pokemon is a Mega Evolution Pokemon, it'll say Mega and then the Pokemon's name. So in this case, Mecha Starmie EX. And to figure out if a Pokemon is a Terra Pokemon, honestly, that's probably the easiest because it's very unique. But it will say at the top, this Pokemon is a Terra Pokemon, can't take damage on the bench. So the types of Pokemon there are out there. How do we use them? So we'll go from bottom up. So looking at the bottom, it says retreat, and then 2 of these symbols. Those symbols mean colorless energy. That means any energy can be used. So there is 2 of these. That means to move this Pokemon from the front back onto your bench, it costs 2 energy of any type. If you do not have that 2 energy, you cannot move this Pokemon back to your bench and swap it out with a new Pokemon. If you do have 2 energy, then you can swap it from the front to the back. Now, attacking. This move says it costs 2 dark energy. Now, a Pokemon can have multiple moves, 2 moves usually, and it can cost any amount of energy. It can cost 1, it can cost 6. Usually it's about 1 to 3. So, you can tell what kind of energy it needs by the symbol next to the description of the attack. In this case, it's dark energy. Now, like I said before, this Pokemon right here has an attack called Cruel Arrow, but it has 3 of those white symbols. That means any type of energy can be used. So if I really wanted to, I could put a grass energy, a dark energy, and a fire energy on this Pokemon, and I will still be able to use the ability. I will still be able to use the attack no matter what kind of energy I use. Unlike before, where it had to be specifically 2 dark energy. Can't be a dark and a grass, can't be a dark and a water, has to be dark and a dark energy. Weakness and resistance. I'm putting these together because they're pretty much the same thing. Just they're opposites of each other. Weakness is how weak you are to a certain type of Pokemon. So in this case, you are times 2 weak against water Pokemon. So if you get attacked by a water Pokemon and they do 10 damage, that damage will be now 20. And on the other side, resistance. Usually it'll be like minus 30. That means you take 30 less damage from that certain type of energy. So if in this case it was actually water as your resistance and it said minus 30, if that same Pokemon attacked with the water, it would take 30 less damage. Okay, so back to the Zoroark card because we're going to learn about abilities now. Now I promise, I know we're like 7, 8, probably 7 minutes in. This is the last we'll be talking about the Pokemon. Pokemon, not a good chunk, but a decent amount of Pokemon, and a lot of decks nowadays do play Pokemon that, at least one Pokemon that has an ability on it. And you'll be able to tell that a Pokemon has an ability because it will, in bright red, say ability and then the ability's name. In this case, it is Trade. Now, abilities can be crucial for decks and help you win in many cases. And a lot of times, decks will be built around Pokemon with abilities. In this case, Zoroark is built around a ability used in Pokemon. And Zoroark has the ability, you must discard a card from your hand in order to use this ability once during your turn. You can draw 2 cards. So, every Pokemon that has an ability will be different. In this case, it is discard a card, draw 2. That's very useful for drawing cards. Now, some Pokemon will have, say, if this Pokemon is in the active, then burn your opponent's Pokemon. If this Pokemon switched to the active this turn, draw a card. There's one called Teal Mask Ogerpon, which we, I think, went over already, where if you attach a grass energy, you get to draw a card. And that can be very crucial for actually winning the game. Okay, so I know that took 8 minutes to explain what a Pokemon card is. None of these will take nearly as long. So, the next card, Supporters. You can only play 1 supporter per turn. There's no exception to that. Only 1 per turn. Just like Pokemon cards, supporters can do many things. Whether it be drawing cards or affecting your opponent's hand or whatever. Here's one of the most popular ones called Lily's Determination. It shuffles your hand and you draw 6 cards. If you have exactly 6 prize cards remaining, you draw 8 cards instead. It is by far one of the most used Pokemon cards in this meta ever. Here is Team Rocket's Petrol, also a very popular card. I would argue also one of the most used cards in this meta. What it does is it searches your deck for a trainer card, reveal it, and then put it in your hand, then shuffle your deck. This is different to the Lilies, as where Lily you would just shuffle your hand and then draw. This you just find a card and then put it in your hand. So supporters, like I said, can do many different things for many different reasons. Okay, so now we're on to Pokemon tools. A Pokemon tool is something that can be attached to a Pokemon, and a Pokemon can only have 1 tool at a time. A tool, you can attach as many tools, like say you have 2 of these air balloons and you have 2 Pokemon. You can attach one air balloon to each Pokemon, but you can't attach two air balloons to one Pokemon because you can't attach two tools to one Pokemon. So, a tool on a Pokemon gives it a ability to do something. In this case, it is an air balloon. So when this air balloon is attached to a Pokemon, the retreat is 2 less. So in that example before, that Pokemon had a 2 retreat cost. If we gave it the air balloon, then that retreat cost would be free. So you could just freely retreat that Pokemon. This showcases the usefulness of Pokemon tools. Some Pokemon tools, if you hit the Pokemon, then it does damage to the attacking Pokemon. Removes an energy from the attacking Pokemon, stuff like that. And just like every card in this game, a tool card can do many various things, and it varies deck to deck. Items. Items can be used any amount of times during the turn as long as you have it. So in this case, Buddy Buddy Poffin, if I have 2 of them, I can use both of them in the same turn. Items can do many things, just like, again, every card in this game can. So you just have to read the card and figure out what it does. In this case, Buddy Buddy Poffin, you can add 2 Pokemon with 70 HP onto your bench. Okay, so now we're going to talk about stadiums. Stadiums are unique in the way that whenever you play them, they stay on the board until either switched out for another stadium, removed from a Pokemon ability, or like a supporter card that says you can remove the stadium, or the game ends. Now, stadiums will stay on the board and affect both players at the same time. This is a very good stadium to showcase that. Its description is, each basic Pokemon in play get 30 HP. So every basic Pokemon gets 30 more health if this stadium is in play. So if I place this card down and then end my turn, and it is now the opponent's turn, that stadium still is there, so all of our basic Pokemon still will get 30 HP. And this will not change unless it is knocked off the board by replacing it with another stadium, because you can only have one stadium in play at a time, removed from a Pokemon, or the game ends. Energy! One of the most important cards in this game, because it powers up your Pokemon so that they can actually use their abilities, as we've spoken before. Now, the most common form of energy you will find is basic energy. This can be grass, lightning, water, fire, earth. I think I'm missing one. Dark. Yeah, that was the one. It can be that, and they're called basic energy. Or there's special energy, which special energy is special energy. It's special. It has stuff that it can do when you attach it to a Pokemon. An example of this is Growing Energy. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides grass energy. The grass Pokemon this card is attached to gets 20 HP. So that's a special energy. Another common special energy is Ignition Energy. It provides 1 energy. If it is attached to a evolution Pokemon, so a stage 1, stage 2 Pokemon, it actually provides 3 colorless energy. But at the end of the turn, it gets discarded. Okay, so to make the game feel unique and fresh, the Pokemon Company will actually print cards that like have special stuff that aren't quote unquote normal Pokemon cards. And the main form of that right now in this format is Ace Specs. Ace Specs can be anything besides a Pokemon itself. So it can be tools, stadiums, energy, items, all that stuff. This is a very common one called Hero's Cape. And it says the Pokemon this card is attached to gets 100 HP. That's pretty good. But there is a caveat for Ace Specs. You can only have 1 in your deck. There's no exception to this. You can only have 1 Ace Spec. Now, I know the video is 14 minutes long now, but that is pretty much all you need to know to play Pokemon. There will be other videos in this series that I will be releasing. A lot of them probably will be shorter than this by a long shot, because like I said, this is like the bulk of Pokemon. You can use this video as a get your foot in the door, I'm hoping, kind of thing. because this game isn't really that hard to understand. Honestly, you could probably just play the game and learn without me having to show you this video or you having to learn. But your time would be very well spent if you watched this video, and you probably could just get away with watching just this video. But the rest of the videos that I will be producing, because they will help you understand the mechanics at somewhat of a deeper level. And basically, you don't got to do the hard work to actually learn how to play the game, is what I'm trying to say. And that's what this whole point of this series is, because I want new people to play the game. I want people to get into this game and enjoy this hobby because it is such a fun TCG. I've played so many TCGs, and this is by far my most favorite one. And I love seeing that it gets more popular by the day. So if you want to watch the rest of the videos, these actually surprisingly take a long time. I mean, this one took like 2.5 hours to make, which I know that's not like too long, but for a Pokemon card video, that's a lot of time to be dedicated to a video. So I don't care if you like or subscribe, really, but I do care if you go and try the TCG at least, because I love seeing new people play the game. All right, that's it.